Welcome to part 19 of this series, the Roman Empire and the Holy Land. In this video we're going to be speaking about Ptolemaic Egypt, Seleucus Babylon, and Antigonid Phrygia, or sometimes I say it two ways, so Antigonos or Antigonus, Phrygia. And we're going to be focusing more on this video on Phrygia, going into quite a lot of detail. Let's first just recap what we said in the previous video. We were looking at the book of Daniel chapter 2, which was the statue of the dream of King Nebuchadnezzar and these different metals trying to illustrate these different empires. We also looked at Daniel 7, these four beasts coming up out of the sea, and he was saying that there's a school of thought that Daniel 7 and Daniel 2 could be connected, that these beasts are another way of trying to describe these empires of these metals. So that's the method that we're using on this channel going forward, that Daniel 7 and Daniel 2 are connected. And then we used Daniel 8, which introduced the he-goat. And then we said, looking back in history, with hindsight, it seems very likely that this he-goat is Alexander the Great. And let's just go to the Bible verses that we were using. So the rough he-goat as Alexander, the king of Phrygia, and then when that king was broken, we were saying this could be describing Alexander the Great dying, and then forced it up for it. And they were speaking about the four kingdoms, or the four generals that fought for Alexander's empire, and that was the history that was known as is the wars of the successors, which we're going to speak about. Just correct that spelling. Okay, so that's kind of the recap of where we're at. And this is the map that we've been presented with for the empire after the death of Alexander the Great, and then these generals fighting for the empire. But I also want to correct something that I said in the previous video, because these videos are unscripted, and I'm not completely sure what I'm going to say during the videos. Obviously I do have my notes as a guide, but it is unscripted. So there was something I said in the previous video that I just want to correct, because when we counted these generals, we said there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then the Bible said that 4 would stand up. So why, we count 5, but the Bible says 4. And then what I said was that I thought that Bible is counting these two as 1. And I said, that's what I said. And when I heard it back, when I listened to the video again, I wasn't quite sure whether I should have phrased it that way. Because if I go to a different map, I just want to see if I've got another map. This is a different map. So they've got it slightly different. And you see they've actually got 4 territories here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Trying to show, trying to make it, I think, reflect what the Bible is saying. And you see they connected Thrace, so the kingdom of Thrace, with the kingdom of Phrygia, so making that 1. So that could be another way of trying to explain it. And one other way, if you give me a second to find this, it says on this page, the most notable of these generals were Ptolemy, Antigonus, Cassander, and Seleucus, and they were the last remaining at the end of the wars of the successors. So that could also be maybe another way of trying to explain it. How does the Bible see this when it says about the 4 standing up? Is it trying to say, the 4 strongest, or the last 4 remaining? So I just wanted to give you a few other ideas, and maybe what I said about, maybe I shouldn't have just said what I did about the Bible seeing this as 1 kingdom. Okay, so I think that's it for that correction and also the recap. Let's start with let's look at our map. Okay, so now this map is going to be our new map going forwards, and what I've done here is I put this date, 1300 BC. We're going back in time, speaking about this great rivalry between the Hittites and Egypt. And this is a map that we were working on earlier on in the playlist. So I just want to have this in our minds, that we had this rivalry between these two great powers, and they were fighting for this control of the land of Syria. So this land of Syria being very important to these ancient empires. And then we're going to move towards this period of history that we're working on, the wars of the successors, and see what we can learn from this. So try to keep this image in your mind as we go forward. Let's start with Egypt and the Ptolemies, because with Egypt, that's something that's remained constant throughout history. You can't really move the pyramids, so Egypt kind of, well, we can use that as something that we can be very sure about with when we work with these maps, that Egypt is Egypt, if you know what I'm saying. So what I want to do is just go to the source and read this part. So it says, Ptolemy, a Macedonian who was one of Alexander's most trusted generals and confidants, won control of Egypt from his rivals and declared himself its ruler. So that's the first one we're going to put on our map. So I'm just going to delete this Egypt here and bring this one, because I want to also use the shape that I prepared for it here. Okay, so we've got Egypt for the Ptolemies, known as the Ptolemaic dynasty, and these colors, it's got nothing to do with the colors that we had for the sons of Noah. So these colors are not related. So we're working with a different map. So don't try and think about these colors and the colors that we had for the descendants of Noah. So Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, let's work on the next one, which is going to be Seleucus. Okay, we'll read this part. After the death of Alexander in 323 BC, Seleucus he received the satrapy of Babylon. So Babylon came for Seleucus, and that's what we're going to speak about now. Now, if you remember, I was saying that we normally use that 1710 map of Africa, but that we could use a modern map, because we're connecting this region called Sennaar with the biblical land of Shinar. So if you see it here, so this dotted region here is Sennaar in the land of Sudan, and we're connecting this with the biblical land of Shinar. So was the Tower of Babel built here? So I just wanted to show you a modern map so you can see the different places, so you get an idea of where we're looking for this land of Shinar. And one of our viewers sent me a comment and reminded me about something that could be important, which is Babel Mandeb. This is quite interesting. We have a strait, so this narrow strait here. We've got the countries of Yemen, Eritrea, and Djibouti. And this strait is very interesting because it's called Babel Mandeb. So you can see that obviously this very striking word there where we see Babel, and the meaning is also very interesting. So they say maybe the gate of lamentation or the gate of grief. So that kind of supports the what we're speaking about here with Sennaar, connecting this with the land of Shinar and looking for this region for the Tower of Babel. And then not too far away we have Babel Mandeb, the Strait of the Gate of Lamentation or the Gate of Grief. And would that not kind of support each other? Because if this region was where the Tower of Babel was, and you have that destruction and that confusion and the people being scattered, would it make sense that this could be known as a region of lamentation or grief, as they're fleeing this destruction? So that's very interesting. So thank you for the viewer for reminding me about that. And that might be a nice chance just to say, thank you to all the viewers that are giving comments whether it's sharing information or just offering a blessing or encouragement. So just thank you for those comments. It's it's much appreciated. It does help. So we can add on our map here now, based on those things we've just said, Babylon, looking for the land of Babel in that region. So I'm not saying that's accurate for the where Sennaar is, but you can see why I'm putting it there now based on those previous things we've spoken about. So that's we've got two of the generals on the map, and it's pretty straightforward putting them on the map because of obviously Egypt, and also other people on YouTube making these discoveries and finding these things out with with Sennaar. These two we can put on quite quickly, but it's the next one that's going to be quite difficult to explain and to talk about. And that's what I was trying to say in the previous video. And that's Phrygia and Antigonus. Yeah, sometimes I struggle with that one, pronouncing it. So let me show you where I'm going to put this. So I'm going to delete the Hittites, and I'm going to put Phrygia on the Iberian Peninsula. But I'm in particular thinking about the country of Portugal when I'm putting it there. Okay, so let me just put that there. So we just go back to the map we've been presented with for this history. So here we see, look, Antigonos. So predominantly this land of Asia Minor or Anatolia, the country we know as Turkey today, for his territory, and we see it here in the east. But we, on our map, I'm putting it here in the west. So I hope you'll give me the chance to go through all the details of why I'm putting it there and offer the explanation. Just want to show you the source to show the land or the territory for Antigonos, to see where we're getting it from. So we see here that Antigonos received Phrygia, but also there's other territories maybe as well, like Lycia and Pamphylia, but we're not going to look at those in this video. We're going to just focus in on Phrygia. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of a recap on what we've learned about Phrygia, things that we've done on the channel, and we're going to try and go into quite a bit of detail to try explain this. So the first connection that we could use is Josephus with Phrygia. Let's do that. So according to Josephus, the Phrygians come from Togarmah, son of Gomer, son of Japheth. So this is quite an interesting connection that we get from Josephus. And Togarmah is often connected with Turkic people. So we see here Togarmah was linked with Turkic nations or Turkic people. So we got a connection with the Phrygians with Togarmah, and also this idea of Turkic, which is interesting. But I'd like to just get a general idea for Gomer. So I think Gomer was the firstborn son of Japheth, if my memory serves me right, and he had 3 sons. And we're just going to think about this family, because it's quite interesting to try to add to our learning with this. So we have 3 sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Ripath, and Togarmah. Or connecting Togarmah with the Turks, with Turkish people. But Josephus gives us quite obscure peoples or nations when he speaks about Gomer, because for Ripath he says he connects them with the Paphlagonians. Now it's not easy to find a lot of information on the Paphlagonians, so I've got a question mark with that, and we might come back to that in a different video. And also for Ashkenaz, connects them with the Rhegians and other people that it's not easy to find a lot of information on. So it's quite interesting that if you think about Gomer being the firstborn of Gomer, going to become a very powerful, you would think a very powerful, influential, or should I say, you would think powerful nations coming from Gomer. But the examples that Josephus gives yeah, a little bit obscure with the Phrygians and the Rhegians and the Paphlagonians. No, not the most obvious connections. But what I'd like to do is try increase our understanding on Gomer, because Josephus does give a bit more information just to speak about Gomer generally. You'll see what I mean now. So it says when he's speaking about Gomer, he connects them with the Galatians or the Gauls. So Gomer being connected to Gaul. Now this is more of the stronger connection, because in other sources we can see this connection. So let me just give you let me just show you some maps if you're new to this some of this studying. Okay, so I'd like to go to a map showing you where Gaul is or was. Which map? Yeah, this is a good map to show it. So we see here we got Gallia. So another word for this would be Gaul. So this region in Europe was known as Gaul. And Josephus is saying that they're also known as Galatians. So Gaul or Galatians living in this region. So countries like France going towards Germania for Gaul and the Galatians, and for Gomer. So Gomer, son of Japheth, being connected to this region. But then also remember he's being connected to Togomar, which is connected to the Turks. Just to try and increase our understanding on Gomer. So the connection with this region for the Gauls, and Europe and the Galatians, but then also to Turkey people. And just another source that supports this connection with France and Germany is in the book of Jasher. It says that the children of Gomer were the Frankum in the land of Franza. So I think this is speaking about the land of France. So the Franks in the land of France, just to show that connection. So you could say that it's basically saying the same thing. So Gomer being connected to the land of the Franks, or the land of France, and Josephus saying that Gomer is connected to the Gauls. You can see how it's saying the same thing. So we've got the Gauls in France, and the other source saying that Gomer is connected to the Franks. So just two sources to support that. So I'd just like to share with you a connection between this family of Gomer, because the Bible gives us these genealogies, and if they're true, which obviously we believe they are, that's the view of this channel, that we can trust the Bible, then we should see evidence in history to kind of bring it out or to show it. So I'd just like you to read something to you to show this connection with this family of Gomer, so we can try and understand it. Okay, so it says here, in 1790, the Ottoman Empire, so a Turkic empire, signed a treaty of peace and friendship with the Kingdom of Prussia. So peace and friendship. Okay, I want to show you a map for Prussia. Let's see if I can find my quite a few tabs open. Okay, so here we have the region of Prussia, and here we have this Ottoman Empire, so a Turkic empire. So you can see this relationship with with the Turkic coming towards Europe with this with the Gauls or the Galatians. But there's another example that also shows it. Let's read this next one. On August 2nd, 1914, just shortly following the outbreak of World War I, an alliance was formed between the German and Ottoman empires. So here we see this potentially, in history, showing maybe this family relationship between the Turks and, let's say, the Gauls, so with Germany. So this is, if we go to a different map, so this is going to be another one of those longer videos, because I don't want to, I don't want to rush it, and try to go slowly so we can try, get a grasp of this stuff, or get to grips with this stuff. Okay, so this is known as, this is the alliance. We can see the date, 1915. So we've got the Empire of Germany, And we can see how it kind of includes that territory of Prussia that we had before on the other map. And we've got the Austria-Hungary, Austro-Hungarian Empire or Kingdom. And then I think this is Bulgaria, and then Turkey, so the Ottoman Empire. And this was the alliance. So I just wanted to show you this map because we can maybe see this family connection of Gomer, spreading from the land of the Turks, but also coming all the way to Europe with the Gauls. So I thought that was, yeah, very interesting. Okay, so now we're going to get onto this, the main part of the video, which is Phrygia. Who were the Phrygians and where was Phrygia? Because we've got to try and give our explanation why we're saying something so different. So here we've been presented with this kingdom in this region towards the east, but I put it on the map here towards the west. Just going to take a sip of water because we're going to go into quite a lot of details here. Okay, so what I'd like to do is, let's first just look at the map. So we've used this map quite a bit on the channel. So we can see here we've got Phrygia. This is what we're going to be speaking about. And we're told this kingdom was in this region. Let's say the modern day country of Turkey. Okay, so let's go to the page on Phrygia and speak about these migrations. Okay, so these are legendary ancient migrations. According to ancient tradition among Greek historians, the Phrygians migrated to Anatolia from the Balkans. Okay, so let's look at the map first of all to see what they're saying. Okay, so they're saying that the Phrygians were in the Balkans, and then they migrated towards Anatolia, and they created this new kingdom here in Anatolia. I'm just showing you what we've been presented with first. Okay, so that's what we've just read. Herodotus says that the Phrygians were called Phrygias or Phrygias when they lived in Europe. So this is the important detail that we're going to try to follow, if you want to say like a clue or a puzzle piece, because Herodotus is connecting the Phrygians with the Phrygias. Now we've got a people that we can try and learn about and follow, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the information and see where it takes us. Okay, so we must remember that when we're thinking about the Phrygians, Herodotus is saying they were previously called the Phrygias, and then when they moved to this new region, they changed their name to the Phrygians, and that became known as Phrygia. So just to go over that one more time. So they were here in the Balkans, but they were known as the Phrygias, and then when they migrated and moved to this new region, they changed their name to the Phrygians, and that became known as Phrygia. Okay, now we're going to follow these details and see where does it lead us. Okay, so the Phrygias. Okay, we've already spoken about this connection, so I'm not going to explain that again. Let's just go to what this word, the etymology, because this is quite important. So they say that it could be connected to this word breg or berg, so either shore, hill, slope, or mountain. But now we see which famous tribes or peoples had this in their name. So we've got the Celtic Brigantes, so you can see there the Briga or Berg. So the Celtic Brigantes, and the Brigantes were a famous tribe in Britain. So here we see this map here for the Brigantes, and this could be connected because we can see they're carrying that in their name, the Briga. So now, isn't it fair to say that if they if these tribes were connected with the Briga and they changed their name to the Phrygians, could we not ask the question, were these Phrygians in Britain? It's not fair to ask that question based on those details. If they connected to the Briga and the Briga changed the name to the Phrygians. So yeah, that's very interesting for Britain and that connection. Now the other one here, another famous tribe are the Germanic Burgundians. So now we're seeing the different variations. So this one very close to the word that we're following. So we see the Briges or the Braga, but the other variation is Berg, so German. And then we see that Berg with the Burgundians. Let me show you a map for Burgundy. Just want to see which map. Not that map. Oh, it's this one. Here we see the kingdom of the Burgundians. So predominantly in the countries of France, coming towards Switzerland and Italy, the kingdom of the Burgundians, and they have that in their name. So, if the Briga were here, can we ask that question again? Could you say that there were Phrygians in this region, in Europe? So yeah, just interesting where the information is starting to take us. So that's what we said. We're going to see where the information takes us. So we've been presented with this picture that the Phrygians are coming here towards the modern day country of Turkey. But so far the information is making us look at countries like Britain and France. But let's just keep going and see what else comes up. Now I'd like to look at other places that carry this word or this name. This is could be very important. Now they're saying about ancient settlements that carry this name, Brigantium or Briga. Notice how we have these places in Spain. So Spain, Berganza, and Bergantinos in Spain, and Braga in Portugal. So this is the one I want to focus on because remember I said that when I'm thinking about the Phrygians, I'm thinking quite a bit about Portugal. So let me explain that. So we go to a map of Portugal. So we see here we've got Braga, and we've got another place here. I don't know how you pronounce that, but you can see you've got Braga in that name as well. And now they're connecting this word with the Briga, or the Briges. So hopefully now you can see how this could come together, because in order for this to be called Braga, if we follow those details, the Briges must have been in this region, in order for it to get this name, to influence these regions with this language. So if the Briga or the Briges were in this region, influencing this region of Portugal and Spain, it's not fair to say that you could call this the land of the Phrygians, because if the Briga were here and they changed their name to the Phrygians, couldn't this be the land of Phrygia? So that's what I'm thinking, and that's why I'm putting Phrygia here for this map. Okay, let me just check my notes to make sure I'm following. So you just did Braga, Portugal. This is also a very important detail that we're going to add to this video that we've spoken on the channel quite a bit about. So we already introduced we spoke about Gomer being connected with with the region of Gaul and the Galatians. Yeah, this is very interesting, this part, because I just want to just think about how I'm going to try to explain this. We've got, it seems like we've got history mirroring itself, because maybe I want to go to a different map. Let me go to the map on, let me go to this one. Okay, so we've been speaking about Phrygia, but now we see another kingdom here called Galatia, and we're thinking about Gaul, we're thinking about Gomer. So if I can just quickly give you a very short explanation for this. So what they're saying is, in the history, Celts or Gauls or Galatians came into this region and conquering, and there was a kingdom that was created named after them, Galatians, for Gauls. But the very interesting thing is that it seems that there's a mirror story going on, because if we go to the Iberian Peninsula, the map we're working on, it's like a mirror story going on here, because we do have a region still on the Iberian Peninsula called Galicia. Let me show you. So we have this region of northwestern Spain on the Iberian Peninsula called Galicia. And now the history for this would be like the same story. You've got Gauls or Galatians coming into this region, conquering into this region. And in order for this to be called Galicia, you must have had Gauls or Galatians. So this is where it really starts to come together for this picture, because maybe you can already see, if you're new to the channel, how it comes together, because you see how on this map they've got Phrygia and they've got the kingdom of Galatia next to each other. And Galatia is famous because of the Bible, with the epistles of Paul going to the Galatians. So we've got Galatia next door to Phrygia. Now we're connecting with all those details that we've gone through. We're making this connection with the Phrygians in Portugal. And to the north of this region of Portugal, you've got Galicia. But we're connecting that with Galatia. So you can see how we've got, if we use this map to show it, so we're connecting Braga with just a bit of a recap here, with the Brigues, and the Brigues are being connected with the Phrygians. So when you make that connection, we're asking, is this the land of the Phrygians? And then right next door, or should we say, next door to the north, we've got Galicia. So this is what I was, when I was doing this research, starting to, wonder and starting to contemplate and think, what's going on here? Because it looks like we've got these kingdoms were actually in the west on the Iberian Peninsula, but they've put them on the map here in the east. So they're moving this history to the, to the east. But where did this history really take place? Because we can see on the, on the record that this place is still called Galicia. It's still called it. It carries the name. So the history, we know that the history was happening here in terms of that, the Gauls and the Galatians coming into this region. And you've got to say, does it actually make sense? Does it ring true? If we kind of think of all the things we've been speaking about, because we know that this region's called, was called Gaul. This region of France coming towards Germania. So this would be, in my mind, the strength of Gaul or the Galatians. And now we've got a province here called Galatia or Galicia. You can see how it can make sense that the Galatians could be coming into this region, or the Gauls conquering, and then maybe people being left behind here, or still inhabiting this region, and then it became known as Galatia or Galicia. So I think that does make sense. It does seem to, well, for my mind, it does ring true. But I'm just going to put the information out there, and then people can judge for themselves and think what they see what they make of it. But it's like kind of making a case. We're trying to make a case for what we're presenting here, and I think the case is getting quite strong for this picture. Let me just alter this quickly, because I wanted to do this. So I'm going to come forward 1,000 years. So moving roughly forward 1,000 years, and just the idea I wanted to share with this is, so try and remember that we were speaking about the Hittites and the Egyptians, this great rivalry, and thinking about history repeating itself. So what we can see, if this is all fair and accurate, or just closer to the truth, is that it seems to be the same story. We've got this rivalry and these wars to control the land of Syria. So it's just now, obviously coming forward 1,000 years, it's just different names, or different dynasties, different faces, but it's kind of the same story happening. If you can kind of think about that, how it started with the Hittites and the Egyptians and that rivalry, now coming forward 1,000 years, it's still kind of the same story that's unfolding, in a similar region, but now we've got some different dynasties, some different kingdoms. The names have changed, but maybe it's like the same story, same story continuing. So I thought that was kind of an interesting perspective. I'd like to share one or two more things that we can add to this. The capital of Phrygia. So the capital of Phrygia was called Gordium. Let me show you where I'm getting that from. Okay, so the capital of Phrygia, Gordium. Now I don't know if that's Latin or it might be Latin, I'm not sure, but I want to show you something that I came across because we do have a region in Portugal called Garda. Now, I'm not saying this is definite, but this is what caught my eye because now that I'm considering Phrygia in Portugal, you obviously want to try to find more things to support it. So you look for the capital, which was called Gordium, and can you find something for Gordium here, to connect it together? And then I saw Garda. So if we just explore that quickly. Okay, so Gordion, or Gordum, we can see that it could just mean city, basically. So Gordum or Gordion meaning city. So I was just trying to find some information because if it just means city, what does, sorry, wrong map. What does Garda mean? Now I couldn't find anything for definite, but I went for another city on the Iberian Peninsula to try and explore this, which is called Cordoba in Spain. And if we try to learn about this word, or this name, we can see that that does have this meaning of city for this first part, which is either Kart or Kurtu. So this part here where it says Kort or Kart or Kurtu could mean city. So then we can see like I tried to say before, I'm not I'm not a linguist. The language is not my speciality, but as a layperson, still want to try find answers and try to do the best that you can. So we can see that Cordoba, could have that meaning of just meaning city. So could Garda also mean city because it's a very similar word, and we can see that Gordion just means city. So I think that's in my mind it's a fair connection, but I'm obviously not saying for definite that this was the capital of Phrygia, but that's just the best thing that I found for that. And one more, I think there was one more. This was an interesting one. Let's look at this one. This will be the last one for this video. So there's another tribe that they connect with the Phrygians. Let me just go to show you where it speaks about this. It's this part here. There's another tribe that's connected with the Phrygians. I don't know how you pronounce this. I'm going to say Bebrucus. And if we go to that page that we were on, it's interesting where they find examples of this tribe living, because we can see that we have this example of Britain again. So I don't know how you pronounce it. I'll try it one more time. So the Bebrucus living in Britain. So isn't that interesting? Because we also had that example of the Brigantes living in Britain. So we've got two different tribes being connected with the Phrygians and being in Britain. So that's interesting. And the other one, which was interesting, was the Pyrenees. So this, these tribes living in the Pyrenees. Let me show you on the map. Okay, so this mountain range here, this could be quite an important mountain range. It's called the Pyrenees. So the border between France and Spain. So this tribe could be living in this region. Sorry, the tribes could have been living in this region and being connected with the Phrygians. So just more examples of, following the information and seeing where it takes you. But we can see these examples, they keep taking us towards the west, towards countries like France, Spain and Britain for the Phrygians. So I wanted to share all those different details with you of why I'm putting Phrygia here, and then yeah, it's going to be very interesting now thinking about these wars of the successors and how it works here with this picture that we've been working on. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. We're going to try and introduce Thrace and the Thracians. That's going to be the next video. One of the viewers was asking for more information about Tyrus and the Thracians, and that we can kind of link it to the next video with this tribe, because we see that it calls them a Thracian tribe. So these Bebrukes or Bebraikes, they've been connected to the Thracians. So now we see that the Phrygians also may be connected to the Thracians. And yeah, like I said, it does get difficult to try keep going with this, but that kind of introduces the next video where we're going to speak about Tyrus and the Thracians. So I hope you found this video interesting, and you can see, well, obviously it's very important information, what we're saying here. It's not, it's no small thing, because like I was trying to explain about, going against the traditional view, you have to be sure of your ground, and you don't just question things that have been, that most people agree with and believe, unless you've got something strong to base it on. So that's what the channel is about, is just showing you these things that I've discovered and I've learned, and also sharing other research that other scholars have done, including it into this one. And then, yeah, how strong is it? What do you think about the case that we put forward so far with this picture? So let me know if you want to share any comments, or if you've got anything to add. So we'll see you in the next video, which will be about the Thracians. So thank you for watching this one.